So I was too quick to dismiss Mimikas as a viable plastic producer in my previous video, and I'm here to correct this grave mistake. Indeed, just like Gnits, Mimikas too can be bred sustainably to produce 300 kilograms of free plastic per cycle, if you have a source of dirt that doesn't need any additional inputs, and there is in fact such a source, and this source is pips. So I made this monstrosity. I hate it. But it's effective. Well, there are two wild arbor trees which don't need any inputs at all and produce enough branches to feed 6 domesticated pips, which then excrete 120 kilograms of dirt per cycle, enough for 12 mimikas. But I also have a mimica here that pollinates these branches and increases their growth rate by 25%, so these trees can actually sustain 7.5 pips, or 8 since they will never starve. So 7.5 pips make 150 kilograms of dirt per cycle, enough to sustain the above population of 14 mimikas plus 1 over here. To feed all the Luras we only really need 12 mimica buds, but the additional 2 ensure that there's always enough mimikas to also pollinate the plants, while those digest their parents. The pips themselves suffer from crowded debuff, since they are tamed and there's 8 of them plus a mimica, but they have a critter condo which negates this debuff. Without the critter condo, they would still be producing dirt normally, but with it, they also reproduce much faster, and each of them lays an egg every 6 cycles, providing us with extra meat once their children starve. Next, I have 2 sweepers to sweep all the eggs they lay when they are on top of the ranch, and when they're below, their eggs fall through the pneumatic doors, and pneumatic doors don't need any automation because sweepers and falling debris don't see pneumatic doors as an obstacle. All the eggs that fall through or are sent through the conveyors are collected on this stretch of tiles that pips, once they hatch, can't escape from. They hatch tamed, so whenever any pip dies in the pip room, it can be easily replenished by dupes without any downtime, thanks to this critter pickup set to 0 critters and this critter drop-off set to keep 8. There's also a door that only opens when there's less than 9 critters in this room, so that dupes don't pile in on the pips whenever they get a free minute. The critter sensor goes through a filter gate so the door doesn't open in the short time between Mimika dying and a new one being born. Now, the way Mimikas work is that they spawn every 5 cycles from a Mimika bud, and as I mentioned earlier, take 10 kilograms of dirt per cycle if they're domesticated, and they have to be domesticated if we want to have this farm working efficiently. Now, with 14 Mimika buds spawning Mimikas every 5 cycles, it is enough to feed all 32 Luras and have a few extra Mimikas flying around to pollinate them all. When the Luras are pollinated, they make 264 kilograms of amber every 13.5 cycles, which equals 625.7 kilograms per cycle from all 32 of them, exactly the amount I was talking about in the Gnit video that's required to make 500 kilograms of resin to run one polymer press at full capacity. Which, as I also showed in the other video, is made possible by heating the resin to 98 degrees Celsius in a melter like this. I already showed this melter in that video, but there's a few changes I have made for this build. In short, once the amber is taken from the Lura plants, it's sent via conveyors through copper metal tiles, which quickly melt the amber into resin because of the heat in the steam room. The fossil gets put on top of the metal tiles while the resin flows down into this vacuum room. I have aquatuner cooling this massive amount of water from the cool steam vent, which produces a lot of heat, much more than amber is able to cool on its own, and more than I had to deal with when there was just 4 kilns on the other end. I've noticed that if the steam room gets hotter than 128 degrees Celsius, then the few seconds that resin touches the metal tiles as it's pouring down from the rails is enough for it to boil. For this reason, I have 2 steam turbines removing the heat once it hits 125, and liquid pipes that move away the excess water if the steam room gets overpressurized because of the output of polymer press. I also have temp shift plates on the floors to disperse the heat evenly, and since they work in a 3x3 area, they don't have to go all the way to the walls. So we get nice and cool resin in this room, enough to consistently produce 300 kilograms of plastic, which we then dump into the clean water pool to cool. Here I don't have any way to retrieve neither plastic nor water, since it is a test build and I have no need for them. This setup is very easy to get done, but there are a few things worthy of mention. Oh, and before I start talking about those, if you clicked on this video looking for ways to make plastic, Mimikas and Lura plants are part of the Prehistoric Pack DLC, so you won't find them in the base game. Okay, so first, you might wish to build your farm in a place that doesn't have any natural tiles left, and so your pips can't plant wild arbor trees there. This can be easily solved by building a glass forge, producing one piece of glass and piping the output through hydroponic farm tiles. You can then empty the pipes, deconstruct the farm tiles, and voila, natural tiles. All you have to do now is drop some acorns and pips so that they can do their magic. Just don't tame the pips before arbor trees have started growing their branches, or your pips will starve. By the way, if you've ever scratched your head about why your pips just won't plant the seeds, there's a mod that lets you quickly see if they're even allowed to, and how to fix that. I'll leave a link in the description. Second, Mimikas reproduce by dropping Mimilet at the end of their life. It rots within 8 cycles and has to be planted in a farm tile. It's edible, so make sure that it's not set as an ingredient in the electric grill. At the same time, the original Mimika bud keeps growing and producing new Mimikas, so you can kickstart a farm from just one Mimika bud, and I recommend you do that before planting any Lura plants. Once you plant all the Lura plants and Mimika buds, you should prohibit dupes from entering the room as it is designed for Lura plants to self-harvest. If you let the dupes spend their precious time on harvesting the plants every 9.5 cycles, you'd need to have 17 Mimikas to sustain all the Luras, which you don't have. If you want to collect the Mimilets and Lura seeds, build an additional conveyor loader on each side instead. Next, in the steam room, you have to build 2 conveyor bridges at the end of the line. First one will be requesting amber from the loader, and the second one will be reversed and will keep on cycling packets to delete the empty ones, because once something melts or boils on a conveyor, it leaves behind an empty box that has to be removed through some kind of receptacle. You build these bridges like this. And the last step to bring this all together is to start up the aquatuner with some polluted water loop when there's already some amber going into the conveyor rails, but it won't hurt to preheat the room to about 100 degrees. Just don't forget that you don't need any additional polluted water coming into the loop, just close the loop and then empty one pipe so the liquid keeps moving. I will now show you all the layouts so you can replicate the build, and do let me know if you use it so that I can print your comment and hang it on my fridge. I'm running out of motivational quotes. Of course, you can improve this setup further by picking up the extra Mimilets from the amber room, or adding sweepers to pick up the meat here, or better yet by adding a drowning room for the pips. But before you say, "How dare you!" have some pity for your computer instead. Now let's compare this setup to the Gnit setup. The main trade-offs are duplicate labor and food, but it's not an issue since the Pip Ranch provides about 2600 calories of barbecue or 2100 calories of meat per cycle, enough to feed 2 duplicates. Still, the Gnit Ranch is just chic, and I'm a sucker for modular designs and aesthetics. If you haven't seen my Gnit setup yet, do check it out, it's majestic. So, which one of these two will replace glossy dreckos for you?
Mimikas! Gnits! Full bone! You decide! We're picking more ranches in the broken colony!